Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Sorceress by James Eggebeen. Narrated by B.J. Harrison. Chapter 1. The wizard Skellig stood before his home as he prepared to face his adversary, uncertain he would ever return. He raised his arms and chanted the spell that would bury the complex beneath the earth, safe until his return. The spell of protection he'd crafted would keep it from any prying eyes, should they find it. He felt the weight of the charm of the joiner about his neck as he invoked his carefully prepared incantation and drew on the charm's stored magic. The earth swallowed the structure, mighty chunks of sod rushing around as if a whirlpool had been stirred in the grass. After a hand of heartbeats, the ripples settled and smoothed until there was nothing but grass swaying in the gentle breeze. Not a trace of his presence remained. Skellig signaled to one of the 3 dragons he kept under his spell, the trio that would make an unbeatable weapon in the coming conflict. His mount circled overhead, with the rush of wind and the snapping of leather wings. Massive claws dug into the earth as the dragon came to a halt before him. Out of the hundreds of dragons that made their home in the realm of man, Skellig was able to command only 3 of them at any one moment. Try as he might, he had never been able to manage any more than that. It took an immense amount of power to compel a dragon to act against its nature, but he would make do. He silently ordered the dragon to lower its head, and it obeyed, gently resting a massive chin on the ground before his feet. He climbed aboard, straddling the dragon's thick, muscular neck, grasping scales with nervous fingers and digging his toes beneath armor plates to secure his seat. He urged the beast. It leaped skyward. Connected as he was to his mount, he instinctively felt the location of the remainder of the dragon clan. They lay open to him, the entire clan, not only the 3 under his command. He sensed their presence and their individual life forces, even though he could do little but influence their flight while controlling the mighty 3. He could still switch command to a new dragon almost instantly, and had used his influence to gather the dragons from around the realm. One never knew when having a ready replacement at hand would turn the tide in one's favor. Skellig had laboriously stored power in the charm from his own personal reserves for almost a season. He had foregone the use of magic in any form, preferring to invest it in the charm. It would give him an advantage in this battle, and he would need every bit of it. The magic the charm could store was limited, and now it was full. It was as much magic as he was able to accumulate. Yet it would grow perilously low during the upcoming battle, and Skellig knew he would need to be victorious quickly or lose the battle. If he lost control of even 1 dragon before defeating Endra, there would be no recovery. Skellig and his dragons reached the battlefield where his adversary waited in challenge. Endra was no ordinary wizard. He had ruthlessly taken the power from each of his adversaries and had the accumulated magic of 100 wizards at his command. His power was formidable. Skellig fell on Endra from the air like a bird of prey. The scent of rotten eggs and swamp gas would precede him as the dragon let forth a stream of fire. The flame washed over Endra, splitting into harmless streams of fire that licked the ground ineffectively. Endra stretched out his staff, and lightning shot through the air, following the fire back to Skellig's mount. The dragon faltered, dropping for the ground, and recovered with little room to spare. There was true power in Endra's spell, but with the help of the charm, Skellig shook it off, turned his dragon, and reeled skyward once more. He drew power from the charm and pressed it into the dragon to supplement the beast's own natural magic. He commanded his mount, and together with the rest of the clan, they dove once more. This time, Skellig pressed the attack with his own magic. He directed a blast at Endra. It was an incantation he had learned from the ancient text, now buried beneath the earth. A spell the wizard was unlikely to have encountered. The spell was effective. Fire penetrated Endra's shields, and the wizard erupted in flames, but Skellig's satisfaction was short-lived. The wizard Endra vanished, only to reappear across the field unscathed. Once again, lightning flashed towards Skellig and his dragon. Skellig braced himself and turned his dragon for the attack, but he was too late. As he invoked his counterspell, the last of the stored power drained from the charm. He was losing control of his dragon. He relinquished his hold on his spare mounts and clung tightly to the one he rode, seeking a place to land. He spied a safe spot and directed his mount toward it. The great beast flared its wings, snapped the air, and settled to the ground. With limited magic at Skellig's disposal, the beast was slipping from his control. In moments, he would be out of magic once again, stranded, impotent. What could he do now? Without the dragon, Endra would be upon him, and that would be the end. The charm vibrated gently, signaling that it was nearly dry. If only he had a source of magic to repower the charm. He had come so close. The dragon snorted, straining at Skellig's command as the magic faded and his hold loosened. Skellig slid from the beast's neck to the ground and stood beside the dragon, commanding it to be still, knowing it was just a matter of time before his magic was completely gone and the beast would be free once more. He grasped a scale to steady himself. His hand touched the soft skin beneath the hard plates. Soft skin. That was it. Skellig took his dagger and pried loose one of the thick armor plates that protected the dragon. He touched the soft skin beneath it and felt the dragon's pulse. Here was his chance. He drove the dagger home. Blood gushed forth. As the dragon bled out its life, Skellig grasped its magic and directed it toward the charm of the joiner. If he could capture the magic of the dragon, he could use it to command the entire clan. He would be undefeatable. As he struggled with the magic, Endra approached. Skellig raised his shields as best he could and channeled some of the dragon's magic into himself. It was powerful. Elation surged as the dragon gave up its magic. Great flecks of light enfolded him like a swarm of golden fireflies, spinning in tighter and tighter spirals. They paused for a heartbeat, then swept into the charm. The dragon turned to a cloud of dust and vanished. Skellig gave a cry of victory. The dragons were his. He could command them all. He would be victorious. He reached for another dragon to replace his mount, but something was wrong. The dragons were gone. He used the power of the charm to scour the land, but there was not another dragon to be found. Above him, a curtain of diaphanous blue-green light wavered in the ethereal wind. In the moment he had been distracted, they had escaped through the veil that separated the worlds, safe from his magic. He screamed at the sky. Lightning shot from Endra's staff, engulfing Skellig in a crackling blaze. Skellig struggled to use the charm to power a counterspell. He was too late. Chapter 2. Baron Reik stood on the ramparts overlooking Froston as the morning sun cast its rays of light off the eastern sea. The morning breeze was chilly, but the day promised to be warm. It had been a long night. The midwife had told him it would be best if he spent his time in quiet contemplation while she handled the birth. And he had, for a time. But how could he wait in quiet contemplation while the heir of his dukedom was being birthed? He glanced at the breach in the wall that had occurred during his father's reign. The king had taken exception to the tight grip Baron Reik's father maintained on his people. The king had stormed the castle in an attempt to unseat the Reik family and replace them with one more malleable. The only thing that remained of that failed attempt was a blackened and poorly repaired rampart, and a long-lasting enmity between the Reik family and the king. An uneasy truce had been maintained ever since, but with this birth, that would change. Reik's son would inherit 2 baronies, and have the troops needed to take the crown from that pretender who now wore it. Soon enough, a Reik would sit on the throne. A page approached timidly, bowing deeply. "Sire, it's time."
"My son?" Reik asked. "He's been born?"
"The child has been birthed, yes," the page said. Reik rushed to the birthing chamber, but the wizard Fomor stood blocking his path. Baron Reik asked, "When will I meet my son?" The wizard stood with his back to the door.
"There have been complications, sire. Best you wait a bit before you enter."
"What sort of complications?"
The wizard fidgeted, his hands clenching and unclenching, his thin and bird-like features twisted into a mask of fear.
"Well, sire, you understand that some things are not amenable to magic. Sometimes fate outwits even the most powerful of us."
"Outwitted? How?"
Audrey, the midwife, interrupted. "Sire, you have a daughter, Rotiaqua. Her mother named her." The Baron glared at the midwife, turning to the wizard.
"I paid handsomely for your magic. You promised me a son, to carry on my name, to assure that the line of Reik would be unbroken. A son, to bring me grandsons to rule the land. What went wrong?"
"Sire, magic is not precise. I employed all the spells I know. It should have worked."
"You promised me a son, and I'll hold you to that. The next one will be a boy, or I'll have you burned alive. Your magic won't save you."
The wizard drew a breath, but Audrey interrupted.
"Sire, there will be no next one."
"No next one?"
"Sire, I'm sorry," she said. "Births don't always go smoothly."
The Baron grabbed the wizard by his scrawny arm and shoved him toward one of the guards. "Hold him here until I return."
The Baron yanked open the doors to the birthing chamber. It was a sight he was not prepared for. There was blood everywhere, on the floor, on the bed, on the rug. Audrey had followed him in and was trying to arrange the bed, but he pushed her away. Sheets and blankets that had been bunched up and used to stem the flow of blood had been discarded on the floor. A basket rested on the dresser covered in a blanket. But it was the bed that drew his eye. The woman he had chosen to rule with him lay on that bed. The daughter of the neighboring baron. It was hoped she would bring a unification of the 2 states. Her children would rule both baronies, commanding as much power as the king himself. He loved her, truly loved her. He hadn't planned on that. When he first met her, he thought she was plain of face. As he grew to know her, he realized how wrong he was. Her true beauty shone through. She knew how to make him laugh. She had a zeal for life like no other. When he was with her, everything seemed more alive, colors brighter, flavors more subtle and varied. Even his subjects seemed happier when she was present. The woman he had planned to spend the rest of his life with lay on the bed. Her breathing was shallow, and her skin ashen white. He rushed over and took her hand, at a loss for words. Her voice wavered. "Reik, is that you?" "Yes, my love, it's me." For the briefest moment, her eyes came into focus as they found his face. "I'm afraid. It hurts so." "It's over. Stay with me." "I'd love to stay. But I fear that's not meant to be." Her eyes closed. Her chest rose and fell slowly, only to catch on a breath and a pause. The Baron watched for the next indrawn breath, his heart thumping against the inside of his chest in hope. But the indrawn breath never came. Not in a heartbeat, not in a hand of heartbeats, not even after an eternity. He touched her face. No movement. No smile crossed her face. No pleasant moan escaped her lips. She was gone. "Come back." He bent down and kissed her cheek. It was slack and unresponsive.
"Get the wizard in here," he demanded.
"Right away, sire."
Audrey rushed out, and half a heartbeat later, the guard appeared, the wizard in tow. Reik pointed to the still corpse.
"Bring her back."
"Sire, I tried to save her. It was not possible. There was nothing I could do. Wizardry has its limits."
"Wizards," the Baron said. "You promise great things and deliver nothing. Magic has no place in my land if it can't save my consort."
The Baron turned to the guard.
"Put this one in a cell. Bind him and gag him so he can't use his magic. See that he doesn't escape. When the time comes, there will be 2 pyres."
The wizard struggled in the guard's grip.
"Sire, I've done all you asked."
"Get him out of my sight."
The Baron sank to his knees by the bed. It looked as if his consort was sleeping. Audrey had cleaned her up and covered her, while the Baron had been occupied with the traitorous wizard. Reik crawled onto the bed and lay beside her, turning her face toward his. "We were going to rule the land together. We were going to raise a happy family, you and I. Now, what shall I do?" A tear rolled down his face and landed on her pale flesh. For just an instant, he imagined that this outpouring of love was enough. He imagined that the tear from his eye was the last ingredient in some spell that was now complete. The spell would take hold and she would return. Her chest would rise and fall once again, and color would return to her face. She would take a deep breath and look him in the eye as she always did. All would be well once more. He lay there for an eternity, waiting, hoping. After a while, Audrey returned and knelt beside the bed. "Sire, it's been 2 glasses. She's gone."
Let the women come and prepare her for her rest.
Audrey laid a hand on his shoulder, but he shrugged it off.
She's not gone,
he said. Sire, she has. There's nothing anyone can do. Let the women have her. Next time you see her, she will be beautiful once more, and you can say your final farewell. Reik wiped the tears from his eyes.
What am I to do without her?
You have a daughter to care for. Do you not want to see her?
The daughter that was to be my son? The daughter that killed my consort? Why would I want to see her? What will I do with a daughter? I don't know how to raise a daughter. Take her away.
She's your daughter, no less your kin than a son would be. You will grow to love her.
How can I love one who took away the other half of my heart?
Reik cried. You can. You're not the only one who has lost their consort in the birth of a daughter. Most get through it and come to treasure the child. Please take a look at her. She looks like her mother. You will love her. I know this.
How can I?
Reik frowned at Audrey. The sincerity in her eyes was evident. She truly believed he could come to love this child.
Where is she?
Right here. Audrey turned to the dresser that stood across from the bed. Upon it sat a woven basket with a blanket covering it. She lifted the blanket and reached inside. Here she is. She's been here the whole time. Doesn't she look like her mother? She has the same eyes. Audrey handed the child to him, the blanket wrapped tightly around her. The child was tiny. Reik barely felt the weight of her in his arms. How fragile. For just a moment, her eyes opened, and he was taken aback. They were green, just like his consort's. How many summers had he spent gazing into those eyes? The babe closed her eyes. Her face became still. No longer did he see the sparkling eyes of his consort. Now he saw the slack face of her death. He handed the child back to the midwife.
Take her away. I don't want to look at her.
She gasped. You wish to give her away?
No, not give her away. Find someone suitable to raise her. He jabbed a finger at the woman. You, perhaps. You seem to have the touch. You raise her. I'll see that you want for nothing. Find a wet nurse for now, but you raise her. I can't bear to look at her.
Audrey said, Sire, you will come to love her. Of this I am certain. Reik glanced at the child. Those eyes. He couldn't bear to look at them.
Take her away,
was all he could manage to choke out before the tears began again. Chapter 3. 3 days had passed since the Baroness died, and Baron Reik had avoided the midwife, avoided his one-manservant, avoided anything that reminded him of his normal life. The women had come and taken his consort away, and erased every trace of her from their bedchamber, save his memories. Whenever he glanced at the bed, he saw his consort lying there, her hair fanned out around her, as she rested, heavy with child. His child, the murderer who had taken his beloved away from him. He closed his eyes, trying to blot out the pain. Sire? The voice of the Baron's trusted adviser, Hansard, was shaky.
Leave me alone.
It's time for the pyre.
You're not going to burn my beloved.
The thought of flames licking at the hair that once framed her face filled Reik with dread. His guts twisted until he nearly lost the fight with his own body and expelled the meager morning meal he had allowed himself.
Sire, the smell of death must not be permitted to mar her memory.
Cover it up. You're not burning her. Not today, not ever. You're not taking the last memory of her away from me. I won't have it.
Sire.
The old man approached with a familiarity that would have earned him a reproach on any other day. He knelt down beside the Baron, a feat that none would have thought possible for one of his advanced age.
I know how hard this has been for you,
Hansard said, his voice barely above a whisper.
She is gone. Her flesh is subject to the same decay as all flesh. You must treat her remains with respect. Please, I beg of you, do not let corruption take away the beauty that remains. Fix it in place with the cleansing fire. It will show the people your love for her.
I can't bear to give her up.
Hansard stood and stretched out his hand.
Come, make your final words to her and release her. The people expect to pay their respects. I've known you since you were a lad. I know you can do this.
Baron Reik let Hansard guide him down the hallways to the chamber where they had prepared the body of his consort. She had been washed and anointed with oil, wrapped in white linen covering all save her face. She bore a slight smile that the Baron knew well. It was the one she employed when she was jesting with him, or had just delivered a clever idea and was satisfied with herself. How was he to continue without her?
Who will guide my thoughts out of their darkest domain, now that you are gone? Reik asked. Who will remind me when I forget that my people should be my first responsibility? Who will calm me when the rage takes me?
That face, the one that could still his anger with just that smile, remained impassive, unmoving, unfeeling. She was gone. Never again would her words calm him. Never again would her words soothe him. Never again would her hand touch his at the moment when he needed it the most. Sire? Reik had forgotten that Hansard stood beside him until the man spoke.
She's really gone, isn't she?
He hoped for some other answer than the truth.
Yes, sire.
She's not coming back, is she?
No, sire.
Reik leaned in to kiss his beloved. As he drew near, the odor that had been masked by the flowers and oils that anointed the linen tugged at his senses. Corruption was setting in. In the next days or so, his beloved would lose her beauty, fester, and bloat like a cow left in the field to rot. No, they were right. Better to seal her beauty in with the flames than let it be consumed by corruption.
Prepare the pyre. Sunset. Let this be over.
Sire, the people will share your grief. They loved her as much as you did.
I still love her. I always will,
the Baron said.
Of course, sire. But in time the hurt will diminish. Trust me in this. I'm old. I, too, have had to watch the pyre take the love of my life. The pain will eventually fade until only the happy memories remain.
Before the Baron could respond, A cry erupted from the hallway. "What's—"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?